covering all things Southern. We are Talk with a Southern accent. Jon Rawl back here as we get your week going. And time now, after we've got through that great hour before, to welcome in another great storyteller of the South, and that's Jerry Short. He comes to us from Toccopola, USA. And Jerry is on to share stories of yesteryear, what's going on now, and if we're lucky, we might even get something from the future from our Toccopola storyteller. But he's back on with us now. Hello, and a happy belated Father's Day to you, Jerry Short.
Well, I appreciate it, and I hope you had a good one. And sounds like a Back to the Future segment or something coming up. But that covers both spectrums, right?
It does. And in fact, while we still have Father's Day on our mind, as you and I are both in that elite category of being fathers, did you get my card in the mail?
Did I get your card in the mail?
Father's Day card to you. I sent it to Toccopola. Y'all normally have mail delivered there on time, right?
Well, it comes in by Pony Express, so I don't know. Sometimes they're a little late. It depends on if they get ambushed cutting through the gorge.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think I got it. Did you get mine?
I did not get yours. Did you send anything?
You'll need to go probably just go to Walmart and pick something out, as long as we'll keep it in a reasonable, under $100 or so.
We can do that. Now, Jerry, I'm going to be honest with you. I really did send you something. I put it in the mail Thursday.
Oh.
You should have got it there in time for Father's Day.
Wait a minute. Did you? Oh, now look, I got about 3 addresses.
No, I sent it to the right address Thursday. Okay. It should have taken 1 day to get there. So it should have gotten there latest on Saturday.
When I came back from the farm a while ago, I checked the mail box at the street, and it was just 2 items in it, but they both went to my wife.
Oh.
And then
as long as it wasn't a bill.
On the farm, I got a mailbox there.
Okay.
And I checked it yesterday when I hauled some stuff down to the farm, and I hadn't seen anything from a celebrity like you.
I don't know if I'm a celebrity, but Jerry, it just hit me what might be happening. I think I figured out what happened why you didn't get that mailing over the weekend.
I think this is a hoax, but I'm ready for it.
You didn't get it. It just came to me.
Okay.
You probably didn't get it because we had a federal holiday on Friday.
Oh,
and the post office was closed on Friday.
And we were celebrating too. So, I didn't even check my mail probably, Fireworks and everything.
It wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have come because we had a postal holiday on Friday. It was the very first Juneteenth. And I'm not a fan of that. I'm not here today to necessarily get into that. What I'm here to talk about is how Juneteenth has come out of nowhere, Jerry. And within the matter of about 72 hours, this thing that was just a pipe dream for some ends up becoming the nation's 12th federal holiday. And my real complaint here, Jerry, have you ever seen the federal government move so fast on something in your life, so fast that this thing gets signed into law on Thursday by Joe Biden, and come Friday, offices are closed across the country?
Well, Biden can break the sound barrier if you give him a chance. And, but the origin of this is Galveston, right?
Galveston, Texas, 1865, June 19th.
I worked at Galveston for 6 or 7 months, and it hadn't been that many years ago, maybe 5 years ago, 4 years ago. I don't think I ever heard it mentioned on the island. And I was on the island every day doing something. Might have been playing putt-putt golf, but I was doing something.
Yeah.
And I was eating in Italian restaurants, and I was going to the back bay and watching people unload from the Carnival caravan ships, and I'm yet to hear the word Juneteenth. So evidently it wasn't that, at its origin, evidently it wasn't that much said about it down there until sound barrier took over and went to knocking those penmanship out that he was doing. But other than that, I don't know. I'm going to go back to Galveston and check things out.
Well, they got a big mural they just dedicated there over the weekend, and it now becomes the only city in the country that's got a holiday specific to right there, Galveston, Texas, which has been a state holiday in the state of Texas for quite some time. But now this singular event there in Galveston, Texas now has become a federal holiday across the country. Only one state in the country currently does not recognize Juneteenth, and that's the state of South Dakota. 49 of 50 states already at least recognized it, not necessarily giving you a paid holiday. It doesn't matter now. The federal government says this is now a federal holiday. And this came out of nowhere. This came out in just about a week's worth of effort. And I know some people have been celebrating a long time. I actually went to an observance of a U.S. colored troop dedication of a new plaque for the USCTs. Those were black soldiers that fought in the Civil War. And I went to that on Friday, the day before, well, the day of the federal holiday, but the day before June 19th. And they mentioned there in the local community they had been getting together for Juneteenth observations for more than 30 years. That impressed me. Most all the observations I've seen have only sprung up in the last 5 to 10 years. So maybe there is something to it. And I don't mean to belittle this now holiday, but it seems like it's come out of nowhere, even in the black community. And here it is now, a federal holiday with benefits, including the day off.
Well, let's be colorblind. I mean, how many presidents have a national holiday?
On the federal calendar, one. They actually still, at least on what I saw,
George Washington.
They celebrate George Washington's birthday as a federal holiday. But a lot of states have kind of lumped in presidents to become President's Day around the country.
Yeah.
And you just have to think George Washington's time of being honored are definitely numbered. And Jerry, again, they made it a federal holiday. There was essentially no Republican rejection of this in the U.S. Senate. It was a unanimous 99-0 unanimous consent vote. And then in the U.S. House of Representatives, 14 Republicans did vote against making this a federal holiday. And those 14 are being called out. I've seen more than one article that lists, oh my God, these 14 Republicans voted against this federal holiday. Here's their names. Can you believe this? Essentially, get these racists out of office.
Well, see, I didn't hear anything about this until even when Mr. Biden was overseas. You don't think Putin had anything to do with this, do you?
No.
No. Okay. I thought Putin might have, when they had their conference, might have told President Biden to sign it in or something. But no, I'm not being real negative about it, but I'm not being positive because we don't have, like you just got through saying, we got 12 holidays, plus all the other time that federal workers get off. You missed your calling by not being a federal worker. You put it all together, and there's probably 40 or 50 days that they get off with pay a year, federal employees, with all the other
and states right behind them, Jerry.
Yeah, and states
maybe in some states even ahead of them.
Ahead of them, absolutely. And I think we have a president that has a holiday in Mississippi. I believe Jefferson Davis Day still in Mississippi. I don't know.
If it is, it's probably days are numbered.
Its days are numbered, but that'd be the only president, right? That I can think of I could say had a holiday. And
yes, and my wise guy attitude towards Juneteenth, I knew this was going to get some kind of federal recognition.
Yeah,
but to have a day off with benefits, a vacation day. I mean, to me, it seems like this thing has come out of nowhere. It should have been given, in my opinion, the same status as Flag Day or some other holiday it's not necessarily a day off.
Well, do you know the full name?
Yeah, I do.
Know the full name? All right, is it Independence? Like the 4th of July?
Yeah, and they threw the name Independence in there.
They did throw that in there. So, and then they're mighty close. I mean, normally we don't like to have holidays that close together. I've heard a lot of complaints about Christmas and New Year's being way too close together. And
I see that. In fact, Jerry, I'm going to tell you right now, I think Christmas's days are limited as a federal holiday.
Well, I think
I get it. If we truly live I'm a very proud Christian and love my faith.
Sure.
But let's be honest, we live in a country that prides itself on a nation of all faiths. Even if you don't have a faith, you're welcome here in this country.
And it don't matter if they get out there and they say death to America, death to the soldiers, but we still have to honor them, these people. from another religion.
Christmas is the only religious day on the calendar, on the federal calendar. There is no holiday federal-wise, at least for Easter. And and Jerry, I'm a little surprised that you don't see, or maybe it's out there to some degree. I feel like if Christmas is on there, why is Hanukkah or Passover not a holiday of some type in this country, or Ramadan even?
Well, Ramadan. I was in the Philippines, and they were the American embassies and places that I had to go to, trying to get some legal paperwork done, were closed during Ramadan.
U.S. institutions closed.
I went to U.S. embassies to get paperwork done when I got married in the Philippines, and we had to go to 4 or 5 different islands and try to catch them. It'd only be open one day for like just 4 or 5 hours, and you had to get in line, and then you had to pay them $1,000 to get permission to have someone marry you or something like that if you were an American. So I flew, I island hopped all over the Philippines until I got all that accomplished, and it was because of Ramadan, and it lasted a whole month, and that was in the Philippines.
And you had to essentially be hindered by this religious holiday in the Philippines, of which, by the way, the Philippines, if you haven't studied up on the religious breakdown, the Muslim community of that country is pretty small.
But it's growing, and it's growing in the southern part. If you know, back down by Indonesia and down in that part, that's about all Muslim now, right?
I think so. And they've got some real problems between.
You remember the last Miss Universe pageant they had? They kind of dictated how they would dress and how they would do this for that beauty pageant. And that's not far off from the Philippines.
Yeah.
And it's easing in on them pretty fast as China is easing in on them in the China Sea also. So I kind of worry about my wife's ancestry in that part of the world.
Well, one of the terms, since you've been talking about, what was that nickname you gave our president?
Oh, breaking the sound barrier?
Yeah, Mr. Sound Barrier.
Yeah.
Since you're talking about him and what's going on in Washington, D.C., we were told after this new president came aboard about court packing, Jerry. We might have holiday packing. If they can push through a 12th holiday that easy with essentially no counter to the motion, and it can become the nation's 12th holiday in Juneteenth, you now have 2 holidays out of 12 that are essentially geared at least to celebrate Black history. You got Martin Luther King Jr. and you got now Juneteenth. Those are 2 Black-related holidays. Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
No,
you got Christmas, and then you got a couple of patriotic holidays, whether it's the 4th of July or something real solemn in Memorial Day. And then New Year's Day was pretty nondescript, Labor Day. Jerry, why not include other holidays as federal holidays? I mean, if I were a woman, there's not a single holiday after a woman. There's not a Hispanic holiday. There's not a gay pride holiday. Don't you think that some of these groups are going to essentially rally and say, we've got to have a holiday?
Well, look how many months you're starting to get. This month is for such and such history. This month is for such and such. And that is really growing. I hear them every day that I didn't even know they were going on. You know,
hey, this probably happened in more than one state, but I specifically read the story from over the weekend in Wisconsin. They've been flying the gay pride flag as part of Pride Month all month of June. And do you know what? They lowered that flag on Juneteenth and raised the Juneteenth flag. So you have to think there's some people who are proud of their gay roots that were upset that this thing got lowered for that one day for Juneteenth.
Golly.
Did you know there's a Juneteenth flag?
No, but I'm very interested in seeing what one would look like.
You'd have to look at it. It's
because Mississippi got a new flag, and it looks like something that should be on a Mardi Gras float.
This one?
So,
this one's a little bit more patriotic than the Mississippi flag if you actually see it. But it was the first Juneteenth, and again, if you're a federal worker, you got off probably with a couple hours notice. They called you up and said, hey, Jerry, you don't have to come into work tomorrow. It's the new federal holiday. That's what I was just stunned by, how this thing gets signed into law on a Thursday. I thought it would be kicking into effect maybe 2-3 years down the road.
Yeah.
Boy, it was immediate.
It was immediate, and he just got back. I mean, he hadn't been back but one day.
Yeah.
And did you see the entourage gathered around him for the signing? You know, it was the vice president, her husband, maybe Buttigieg and his husband, and so you just didn't even know who was there. Maybe Sheila Jackson Lee was there.
John Cornyn was there of Texas, a Republican who pushed forward this thing.
Sheila Jackson Lee's from Houston, and
she's the one that I think gets the credit for pushing this thing more than anybody. But it's your 12th federal holiday, Juneteenth. You know what? This past weekend we also had another holiday. Unfortunately, you didn't take the day off federal-wise and get paid for this one. It was Father's Day. We're going to come right back from our time out with Jerry and continue on talking to him. And we're going to talk to him about Father's Day and some of the relationships we all have with our daddies. And if you're still lucky enough to have a dad, that is. And if you don't, the memories you cherish of dear old dad. That's coming up next as the Y'all Show Monday edition continues. Head back on Y'all Talk with a Southern accent with your host, Jon Rawl, and hopefully for all you dads out there, this past Sunday was a wonderful, wonderful day for you. And it was a great day for many, and for some of us who are fortunate enough to still have their fathers, you got to make that telephone call if you were a long way away and wish Dad all the best. And some of you were able to go by and see Dad or Granddad or great-granddad, whatever the case may be, on a very special day. We just celebrated Moms a few weeks back, and it is a good time of year whenever you're able to get Dad on the line and or see him. And Jerry, just like me, you're in that elite club of being a father, as we're talking with Jerry Short, the Toccopola Storyteller. So did you have a good Father's Day? Did you get a nice brand new necktie?
You know, I did get some items which growing up, we didn't really do Father's Day really strong.
Was it actually celebrated by people?
You know, to me, and I can't speak for everybody in general, but for myself, it really wasn't, because my daddy was going to be working, and he believed in working 7 days a week, 20 hours a day. And so, you know, if there's anything done, my mother probably might have got a card or something. But Hallmark wasn't in the money-making business of making a card for every occasion then. So, you know, I'm sure what we just talked about, there's cards for that, because Hallmark's not going to miss, or any of the other companies aren't going to miss that. But no, my daddy was pretty strict, and I'm an only child, and my father died in '69, and my mother died in '69 also. So.
But they weren't together when they died the same year. They had been divorced.
Yeah, they was divorced by 5 years, I guess. And they was divorced in '64 when I graduated from high school. And my mother lived in Memphis, and then my daddy had remarried about 2 years, I think. But anyway, so I really didn't keep up very much with that. I was out. I tried school for a month, and I tried the military, and then I'd try working offshore in Louisiana, or I'd try a lot of different things. So, you know, I was putting my Father's Day, which I really did have a good one. I got 2 outstanding children, just like you have an outstanding young man. And mine called me, my grandson called me. We ate with them today at a restaurant, so really, it was really nice, and they covered the bill too, so that made it. So, but my wife, her father's deceased, and but she really gets into. She made tomato pies for everybody, you know, all like for my son for his Father's Day, and for my son-in-law for his Father's Day. And for his father, who they're the ones that got us together to have the Father's Day meal. So she's just knocking out
tomato pies.
Tomato pies like this morning from about 5 o'clock on till we left to go to the town where we had the meal. But anyway, it was it was really good and interesting. And you know, I you know, getting together is a wonderful thing. But you know, we just never did. We never did really go overboard with any. Well, you know how. Well, you're not as old as I am. When you
No,
get
I'm
70,
not.
when you get 75, you can't. You know, that's the reason you can be called a storyteller. Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff. Is a lot of water's run under the bridge, and so you know, there's been a lot of things have happened, and things have changed a heck of a lot. So, how was your Father's Day back, say, when you were high schoolish?
It was a lot what you described as back in the past. Now,
Yeah,
I can't say much about my father because he's still with us, thankfully.
yeah,
But
that's
I know
good.
I want to put the spotlight back on you because your father, when he was alive back in your youth, you
All
and
right.
he didn't always see eye to eye. And I
No,
know that now he's been dead more than 50 years. I hate to remind you of that.
oof,
And as the years have gone by, some of the conflict that you and your dad have had, and I'm only saying and pointing you out because you're with me, there's a lot
yeah,
of people right now tuning in who've had conflicts with their fathers.
right.
And as the 50 years now have gone by, I think you have an appreciation for your father that maybe you didn't have even when he was alive.
I think my appreciation is the more I look back at the things that separated us or caused hard feelings with us. My daddy was all just work, 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 and he didn't even like sports. And I liked sports, and he didn't want me playing sports, even though I did. He didn't like any of that kind of stuff. And then it gets down to other things. You know, he'd been in World War II, and I didn't realize all that. You know, but back then you come out of World War. I mean, he hit Normandy, and then he was with Patton, and then they go into Black Forest, and then they do all that Battle of the Bulge, and then he goes to the Russian line, and then he comes home and goes immediately to work. And I think a lot of that caused him to be the way he was. And I, over the years, when you said appreciation for, I think I look back now and I see where I may have been even more hard headed than he was. I think he would have probably given in more if I hadn't have been such a hard headed rascal. And but I, you know, if it got in my face, I would think I could get back. But hey, you didn't get back in his face. And so I look back at it now as time passes. You know, sometimes you look back and you say, if I could do that, I'd do it different. You know, I did it my way, everything I've done my whole life. And you know, I've even asked for that song to be at my funeral. You know, the Elvis version, not Frank Sinatra, but because
Of
I think
course.
I did everything my way. And but there's a few things that I would do different in that relationship to make a better father son relationship, because I know I've had friends tell me that after I left home, might as well just say it. You know, when I left home when I was 18, I never went back. And I was on my own from 18 till you see me today. And I have friends that they say that they'd see my daddy and he'd say, "How's little short doing? How's he doing? He okay? What's he doing?" You know, so I know he was concerned, but here
Little Short. I
old
like
hard
that name.
headed,
Little
hard
Short.
headed, but yeah, little short. I'm not so little anymore, huh? And he would he he would ask, you know, they said, you know, he was real concerned about how I was doing, how I was making it, because, you know, I went all over the country trying to, you know, I guess find yourself. Don't people use that terminology a lot? So I didn't mean to get in a storytelling situation of this type,
I'm
but
trying to make you cry. That's what I'm trying to do.
well, I've never done that, and I don't think it's a sissy to cry, but I think he put that he put that streak in me. That now I can tear up. Some things make me mighty sad sometimes. You know, I can tear up over some things that you wouldn't even dream of. You know, lose a dog or something like that, I can tear up quick. But anyway, yeah, you're right, John. And I, you know, I'm glad you had a good routine. And I know your daddy, and you got a daddy that looks like he could probably have a little of my daddy in him when it comes to business and working and getting things done. But he's a good guy. I really like your daddy, and I know you love him too. And
Well, speaking, I'm going to stop you right there, Jerry, because that's actually going to be the next topic I talk about. And I'm going to pick on my dad. And I'm going to pick on you too, I think. But there's a lot of people in the same category, whether it's that machismo factor or just stupidity. But a lot of guys don't tell their dads, I love you. And that a lot of times that doesn't reciprocate. The dad, it's almost like dragging it out of them to say that they love you. And I don't understand that, because I tell my young man every single day, if I'm able to, that I love him. And he tells me the same thing.
But, I tell my grandson that. We traveled and did everything together. And I tell him I love him. But my son, it's still hard for me to say that. And I love him to death.
But you don't
call
tell him
me
that.
the minute, huh?
You don't tell him that.
But I don't. That's a macho thing, I think, that was instilled in us when we were young, as far as a male goes. Now, as far as the female part of our family, it's I love you, I love you, I love you. And I'm hugging my daughter today 1,000,000 times. I'm hugging my granddaughters 1,000,000 times.
And you tell them you love him.
And I'm telling them I love them. And
but your son, who's just as close to you as your daughter, you don't tell him you love him?
He called me. He had been on the coast for this hurricane that just blew in.
Okay.
And he'd went down with some guys that he worked with. And they went down for like 4 days, but they went down Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and come back today. But he called me immediately. And he talked, and we talked, and talked a lot, and talked serious. But after I hung up, I thought it would have been just as easy for me to say, Scott, I love you. But I didn't do that. And
you're not alone. I'm only picking on you because this is a pretty common thing.
I know.
And there's no reason. Fellas, be a little bit more easygoing. What if you'd have dropped dead 5 seconds after you talked to your son? What if your son had been killed in a car wreck, which happens all the time?
Those things happen.
You just could have told him that one time you loved him. And so all I'm trying to say is, out of this conversation, maybe we all just could lighten up, and it's okay to tell each other, especially if you're a father and a son, and or father-daughter, or mother-son, mother-daughter, you love them. And you know what, Jerry?
What?
I love you, even though you're not my dad.
Say
that again?
I love you too, John.
All right. But he's coming out here. He's coming out of his shell. Jerry Short.
I was running pipeline security out in Oklahoma. And this hadn't been that long ago, about 4 years ago. And a friend got me to go into church with them, and we got real close. And I gave him some stuff that I had in an apartment that I had rented in the town where I was working. And when it was over with for me to come home, he was having me load my pickup. And I said, you keep that big couch in there. I can't get it out and don't have a place to put it anyway. I bought a couch. And he said, okay. And then I said, come around here and let me shake your hand. And he said, I can't. I'm too sensitive. And look, this guy is a physical therapist, and his daddy played football for the University of Oklahoma, I think. And he was a really good guy. And he said, I'll break down, I'll cry. I said, get yourself around here. And he did. He had tears all over him. And he said, Jerry, he said, you don't know what you've done for this community since you've been here. I love you. We love you. And I'm thinking, and I said, well, I love you too, Junior.
How about that?
But something like that can happen at a guy that I knew for like 4 months or 5 months. And as a matter of fact, I've heard from him today on the internet, on my phone.
How about that?
It's
you don't have to be blood related to love somebody and not even be romantically attached to them to be love. It's just a nice thing. And so maybe we're going to make a difference here. Jerry, love you, and have a great rest of your week.
Love you too, and hang in there, man.
And don't make it just about me. I think you love everybody that tunes in, so go ahead and tell them how much you love them.
I love this viewing audience, and I hope y'all understand that what I was trying to say a while ago, that it's all good. And have a happy Father's Day, a little belated in my part, but happy Father's Day to all you fathers. And if I miss your Mother's Day, that goes double.
All right. So, Jerry, thank you very much.
All right. See you later, John.
Yes, sir. And to sum it all up here, one other thing Jerry probably meant to say, and I'm going to say it for him: love all y'all. The Y'all Show will continue after this break. Thank you for being a part of the show that's all about the love of the South.